It's a good thing, I suppose. Hopefully everybody's having a good day. I'm just returning from a semi-long week out in the Rocky Mountains, and I don't have a whole lot of time. All of a sudden getting all kinds of spam phone calls. Sorry. Anyway, I don't have a huge amount of time today, so I am going to I'm going to be running through some issues that I've had with a model here recently, and I thought it would benefit everyone to be able to see basically how how you need to. Yes, I'll be drinking my Coke. How you need to be sure to have good clearances in your models as you're building them, because if you don't, then your sculpts or your prints of your sculpts, especially if you're trying to make flexies or articulated, any kind of articulated models, it won't go very well on the print side of things. So I'm going to wait until we get a few more people in here, and but thank you again for for showing up to my my impromptu live stream. I hope to do something scheduled. It won't be tomorrow. I will be on tomorrow, but it won't be scheduled tomorrow, just because I'm still a little chaotic right now, getting back from vacation. But I think I'm going to go ahead and schedule one for Friday to make sure that we get some sculpting in this week. And I'm prepping my harvest collection, which the reason that you're looking at this scarecrow, this is one of our harvest collection models. This is him printed in PLA, just standard white PLA. He stands up very nicely, as you may or may not be able to see. Again, if you're on Twitch or YouTube, you won't be able to see it. There you go. He stands up very nicely. And I did some changes. This will print with supports. That's the one thing to be aware of. Most of the stuff that we create doesn't need supports, but this guy does, because of all the strands of hair and all the items that we really couldn't make without incorporating some type of supports. Fortunately, this model will be pre-set up with supports in the 3MF file. Hey, weirdos, what's up? What's up? Looks amazing, thank you. And just you guys are getting here kind of late, and that's okay, but I'm just letting everybody know that I'm only going to be here a short time today, just because there isn't a lot of time in my schedule today. I just got back from a week in Colorado in the Rocky Mountains. If you saw my video, you'll see the scenery was very nice. I did spend some time sculpting, and that's going to be the subject of what we're talking about today. I'm not sure why my screen looks so washed out on TikTok. My apologies. Maybe I put a filter. No, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'm working on my streaming setup, just so you all know. It will only get better from here. So bear with me. We're experiencing growing pains all the while trying to keep ahead of the curve when it comes to setting up our harvest collection, which is what this little guy is part of. I'll set him back here. So one of the models in my harvest collection, and the reason that I'm on here today, other than just obviously wanting to do the live stream, done a lot of new things. We'll talk about the print here in a second. Done a lot of new things here. We're using the mask extraction capabilities in Nomad to do a lot of the details like we haven't done them before. Before this, we used the stamp tool to pull these details out. Now we're almost exclusively using mask extraction to create geometry for the details, like the stitches around the patches. I probably should have done the patches with the mask extraction you know, it's like anything. As you learn, as you move forward, you're going to learn probably in some cases better, more efficient ways, or things that work better within your workflow and the way that you like to do things to get better results. So, so I've got a lot to tell you about that. And then another thing that I've started doing, and this is an old photography trick. This is called an infinite curve, or an infinite wall, an infinity wall. So basically, it's just a curved backdrop. Okay, and we set our model up there with various lights, a fill light, a key light. The key light is the one that's usually on the front of the model, and then the fill light is the one that's lighting the side and the back. You can put as many lights as you want, obviously, but this is kind of the look that we're going for a nice clean studio lighting setup. And then you can change the color of your backdrop to any color that you want. If you want to make, oh, that's interesting, don't want that. But like if you want to do like a sage green, and then you can fill it in. So you just in a quick second you can change a lot of the look and feel of your studio lighting setup here. And then what we're going to be doing is, while we're queuing these up to get them printed, so they don't have to wait to get online and be released to you guys as you know, people that want to print them, we'll be using renderings to go ahead and show the models and what they look like in a virtual environment. So anyway, let's go backwards because I'll put that back to our standard white. So let's talk about the model that failed. First of all, we need to open the model up so you can see it. So one of the models that we're working on is for our harvest collection is our turkey. Alright, so this is our turkey model. I'm going to go ahead and turn him so you can see him from the side. Oops, I want to turn that snap on. I'm going to turn that to 2 degrees, and then it'll snap back when I'm ready. So this is our articulated turkey, complete with articulated feathers. A lot of different techniques were used to create not only the feathers here in the back, but also the feathers on his body. Pretty turkey looking. I did make the body black because of the reference photos that I was using online had a black body. I'm going to change this to a dark brown, and then this will be the lighter terracotta color, kind of like real turkeys, although I could probably do some white. On the next iteration of this model, it probably will have a little more white in the tail feathers. This was a pretty involved model, I'm not going to lie. Let me hide this backdrop and show you here on the back end. So we've got it so these tail feathers articulate away from the body, and in concept it works really. It's a nice concept. I did go ahead and slice the model and then do a segment test print to check the articulation of the feathers, and I only wanted them to articulate backwards so much. They can come forward as far as they want, but I didn't want them to articulate too far back because I didn't want them to lay flat. So I've created kind of a break here in the modeling that breaks when it hits, and you can kind of see in the side cutaway here, it only allows it to go so far, so it doesn't pivot all the way flat. Alright, so that's just kind of a little engineering thing that I set up to enable these feathers to only go back so far. So you would think that this print would go really well, and if you saw the video on my TikTok account, my most recent video, you'll see that it did not go well on the print, the final print to the full scale version. There's a few things that went wrong. How was your vacation? Thank you, and it was good. It was good. It was, you know, it was a week in the Rocky Mountains and a bit isolated, but you know, no complaints. It was a lot of fun. Saw some really cool stuff, and for the most part, with the exception of one video and a turkey model that does not work, that I'm going to have to redo, it went really well. And that, you know, I'm not upset about the turkey model, because out of all of the models that I've created in the past 5 months, this is the first one that has really given me troubles on printing. That's okay. I'll recover. And you know what? The cool thing is, I was thinking about redoing it anyway for some various detail reasons, and now I have to, so that's okay. So this is the beginning of the print, and I say beginning because I started a couple of times, and then here's a scaled down version with the feathers, the tail feathers working just fine. But somewhere along the way, and I did manage to get most of these feathers loosened up and working. But again, if you look at the video on my my most recent video on my account, you'll see on my profile, you'll see that there is an area in these feathers where it just let me turn on X-ray here so you can see through the model. This part in here, so it lays flat on its back like this. All right, and I can't slice it here, but you can see right there. You see where that gap? It's kind of hard to see, but you can see where that gap intersects, where this geometry of the body intersects the tail feather. And I missed that. And that's unfortunate because I went quite deep into the progression of this model. And, excuse me, and of course, when it's a bigger model, you don't have to worry so much about that, because just a quick, the gap is good everywhere else, with the exception of that one little edge, that one little corner down here. And when the print is bigger, you just give these feathers a little twist, and they come loose. And the geometry is big enough that it will, in the rest of the feather, the pivoted feather, it will support you pulling on it, because there's a lot of substance to it. But when you scale it down to a smaller size, and I wanted this to kind of be the starting size, you can make it as big as you print it as big as your printer can handle. When it gets smaller, there isn't as much filament between the pivot cylinder and the feather itself to support really cranking on this thing to break it loose. So that's where that went south. Otherwise, we did have an issue with this sticking to the print bed. I've since put ears on it on the final print model. Well, it will have after we redo the model. And then the back of the head was having some issues. I'm not sure why the supports were there, but they didn't print. So I got to look into that. I don't think that's as much a model issue as much as just my slicer was just, I don't know, had an attitude. And this came loose here because I forgot that this is a floating, this part is a floating, let me jump out here where you can see. Turn X-ray off. And this was my bad. Let me go to the top. I'm going to set this back to 0. Okay, and then we're going to come down to the side, and then we're going to lock it. Okay. Actually, no, let me tip this in print orientation like that, and then we'll lock it. Now, if you look here, what's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture is we've got something here that's floating, a piece that's floating on a pivot point here, and there's here it's not so bad, because if you get any sag on that first layer, which you will, this layer here could kind of act as a pseudo, bridge or support to hold it up, and then eventually, as seen here, it's a little messy right here, but not so bad, where where it detracts from the appearance. Where you would have to put supports in here, but back here, this whole thing has absolutely nothing to start it off and give it a, to give it a good start. So, obviously on the next version, I'm going to do the slices in the same place for the articulation, but there will definitely be some support here, and the supports will come out just fine. It'll come out easily as long as your support settings are, are set well. But then that will give this a fighting chance to get this layer started, and then it can build off that as it goes up. And I'll probably put a couple of supports in here. Again, you'll just scrape them out with a pick or with your filament trimmers. Should scrape out just fine. And then of course we'll have supports on the back of the head, which will go down here. And there is a little trick that you can do when it comes to your supports. You want to use the setting in Bamboo Studio. It's called on bed only. And then what that'll do is it will create supports like underneath this head, but it won't put them on top of the feathers. It'll put them in between the spaces, in between the feathers, or out here on the perimeter. It'll build supports up to the head. You know, kind of a Fortnite type of ramp. If you've ever played Fortnite, the base will be here, but it'll gently ramp up here and then create the support structure up there. But we'll get through that when we actually start working on this model, which I'm going to do the majority of the work on this model most likely tomorrow. I will schedule the live. I've got company coming over at what time? They're over here usually at 9:30 and they're out of here by 1. So I'm going to figure tomorrow's what, Thursday? Yeah. This may take us tomorrow and Friday because it's a pretty involved model, I'm not going to lie. I'm very proud of it, the way that it came out and as far as how it looks, but there is a huge amount of work that goes into making this thing look the way that it looks, as well as articulate the way that we want to articulate. A lot of cool stuff I'll be showing you, and we'll be doing tomorrow. We're going to use this as our base, as our template, so we're not starting from scratch. I'll do a couple of screenshots because, like I said, I really like the proportions of this. I like the way that that it turned out as far as looks wise. It's just mechanically we have to fix a couple of things. The other thing too is this foot back here had some issues sticking to the bed, so we're going to fix that too by widening the back of this. You know, and I could go in and excavate where these feathers attach to the body, but with the other issues that I want to fix, it just makes more sense to go ahead and remodel this guy. You know, the good news is it's just time. It just takes time, and I'm trying to get my harvest collection out the door and released to the public. Which this month it'll be 10 models in the harvest collection, and we do have, I want to show you this actually. This is in honor of my wife, who is a 2-time breast cancer survivor. We have updated our penguin to represent the breast cancer cause, and this guy will come with our harvest collection as well. This guy will be released, and yeah, I'm actually printing some full-color samples out on the printer right now for this guy, because I'm going to give my wife a half a dozen of them to display them on her desk at work. But if you are a breast cancer survivor, or if you know, thank you, Fricka Friggy. Funny name. I like laugh. Some of you guys' names are hilarious. I love it. So if you know a breast cancer survivor, or, you know, friend, family member, or yourself, this might be a model you want to pick up. It'll be in our store. It'll be obviously in our Patreon / My Mini Factory collection. And fingers crossed, I hope to have this collection released by the end of this week, at the very latest by the end of the weekend. So everybody has plenty of time to get these things printed out, and either for themselves or to put them in their stores for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday. So, anyway, back to our turkey. So again, like I said, this guy we're going to be working on him again. Now, fortunately, I do have a starting point. Anybody that knows me knows I like to save several versions of our works in progress, and that's what you're looking at here. So going all the way back to turkey. Where is it? Do we have turkey number 1? Yes. Let's see. Hold on. There it is. Turkey. Actually, we have turkey. So there's our initial composition. This will actually get us a good head start on things. Like I said, there's no reason to completely redo everything, and fortunately, let's see, no, this is not. Alright, the beak is still in its unvalidated stage. The wattle underneath has already been converted, obviously, into editable geometry. Um, but the beak, upper and lower beak, oh, come on. Yeah, those are still editable, and I'll take you through how we make those using the tube tool and custom profiles. Make sure the profiles are still there, and they are. So this is a classic example of why you want to work with versions of your files. All right. Again, I'm looking at the first version. Now here's the next one where we started, laying in the feathers, where the feathers were going to go, and how many there were going to be, and how big they were going to be, etc. And of course, here's where we added the feet in. That's turkey 1. Do we have a turkey 2? Where is turkey 2? Come on, turkey 2. You're the next contestant on. Get down with your bad turkey self. All right, I don't see a turkey 2. There's a 22, 14, 16. All right, well, then we'll just skip straight to turkey 3. This is where we really started deciding where how many feathers we were going to have. We had the, I'm going to turn on X-ray so we can see through here. We set up our pivot geometry. And believe me, there's a lot of planning and finagling that goes into creating this guy, and getting this stuff all to line up. It wasn't just creating the geometry to do what we wanted to do, but it was also allowing enough space in here so when we used our Boolean function to cut out the gap, allowing for a gap when we cut our feathers out of the body, there had to be enough space here to be a respectable amount of filament to be laid down on the printer to create a good base for the print to take place. So it wasn't just, hey, let's make a cool turkey and put some feathers on his tail. If you want these to function and to articulate, there's a little bit of thinking. This is probably the most engineered model that I've created to date. Before I did this guy was really, took a lot of planning and a lot of thought, despite the fact that it's just articulated segments. And now I'm kind of wishing that I'd left his bandana on top and have it be separate from the shirt, but details, what are you going to do? I'm not going to redo him. I've already made that decision. Let's go to version number 4 here. Where's 4? There's 1, 2. No, there's no 2. We got 3. All right, we skip it. Oh, there it is, 4. I'm not sure why that was turned that way. Okay, so, and these are all, let me open up our object palette here. Scene palette, scene, object, scene, contents, create, blah, 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 whatever. Here is the curve that controls the feathers. And then, of course, we have the feathers in a group, which contain the pivot cylinder itself, which we've actually, it's all meshed. So this is actually the whole feather. It's all meshed together. The pivot bar, which we wound up actually not using the pivot bar. And this might have been where I kind of set myself up for failure. What I did was I fattened up these feathers, created a Boolean object, and then I used the feather to excavate from the body, leaving the hole there, which gave me the gap with a pivot bar, quote unquote, already in place. Now we could also, and I toyed around with setting up a torus to go through here and having it all, positioned. This is Nomad Sculpt, yes. Running on an iPad Pro. You can run it on Android tablets as well. For that matter, you can run it on your phone. I wouldn't recommend it because the screen's kind of small, but you do you. So, like I said, we ran with a torus idea, and then at the last minute, I forget what happened with the torus. Oh, no, I forgot. Nothing happened with the torus. What happened was I forgot on the Boolean of the feather to close the hole to dig out the cavity in the body for the articulation. And when you, let me see if I can solo this. We'll just use, I won't save what we do, but you'll see what I'm talking about. So if I create a copy of this, I'm going to clone it. All right, so that becomes our Boolean, and we'll name it feather Boolean. So basically the concept is you take a copy of the object, you fatten it up to create gaps, and then you cut it out of the body, which is where the pivot is going to take place. Would you recommend for beginning to design flexes maybe clickers, or would something like Blender be better? So flexies, yes, I would most definitely use Nomad for flexies. The problem with doing clickers is clickers require you to insert something, and there's a certain degree of engineering and respecting of tolerances that needs to take place. I'm not saying that you can't do it in Nomad, but it might be a little more trouble than working with Blender. So maybe what you do is you create the model. So to simplify the process, you create the model in Nomad, do all of your artsy stuff here, and then export it over to Blender or even into Fusion 360 to do the excavation and setting up the part of the model that's going to receive the clicker, the keyboard clicker element. If that makes any sense. Okay, so again, going back to our feather Boolean, what we're going to do is we're going to inflate this because it's going to be used as a reverse Boolean to cut out the cavity in the body. So what I did was I just did like this. I'm going to come up here and actually drop the opacity so we can see how much fatter it is. You're welcome. So you just keep going until you get it to the gap and the clearance that you want. All right. And I'll go ahead and turn the opacity back up. It's rather ugly, but we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to go remesh. We're going to straighten that mesh out a little bit with the remesh. That's right, we're doing a number of feathers and not just the one. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and hit it with the smooth tool. Actually, yeah, smooth tool. And now you can see that geometry just clean itself up with almost little effort. What do we set? I'm going to turn the intensity up to about 130. Get rid of these windows, and then we'll just come in here. And because all of these feathers are a copy of one feather, like this one here, all I have to do is make modifications on the one feather, and it does it on all of the feathers because it's still attached to that curved repeater. Okay. Alright, so we've got our fat feather. I'm going to turn on, our X-ray is on, and I'm going to turn on, this is our original feather, let's name it feather. There we go. Oh, that's not how you spell feather. Feather. Alright, so with X-ray turned on, we can see the Boolean, because we're in X-ray format, or X-ray setting. You can see how, looking again from the side, we've got a lot of gap, a lot of good gap here, and that's good because that's what we want. And because I left this open, I usually close this off and then use this Boolean to excavate the body and then put a pivot bar here in the center, which allows me to control the diameter. But this is, as long as you get a good clearance, between the outer edges of your piece, it'll create the pivot bar automatically. So in a way, this accident actually taught me something new, and we'll use that going forward. So basically what we do now, we've got our body, right? So here's the body of our bird before we cut it with our feathers, our Boolean. So I'm going to go back to the Boolean, and again, there's a bunch of Booleans here, and I'm going to hide it. And then I'm going to show the body. And we're just going to go Boolean, whatever's hidden will act as a negative Boolean if you hide the object. If you show all the objects, it will join everything together, which is not what we want. And just like a goofball, I forgot that we actually have to validate this curve. I'm just going to go ahead and do it now for the sake of argument, but I'm going to get rid of this pivot bar because we don't need it. Validate, and let's uninstance this. No, let's keep instances. All right, there we go. All right. So it's all in a group. Oh, shoot. All right, the booleans, the feather booleans are all hidden. And now everything's hidden. All right, let's tell you what, let's show everything. And let's try this again. I just want to select the boolean, the feather booleans. So let's go ahead and select all of those. I'd probably go ahead and group all these together to make selection a little easier. All right, so there's our feather booleans, the fat feathers. We're going to hide those. You can see them because they're still selected. Anything that's hidden and you select it, or yeah, it'll still show a little bit of a shadow of it, so you can see that it's, you know, still there. And then we're going to go back up to our body, and we're just going to turn the body on so we can see it. All right. So there's our hidden objects, and then there's our body, and now we do Boolean, and watch what happens back here. Boolean, boom. And just like that, we have excavated and left our pivot perfectly in place for all the feathers. And this is actually not badly set up. Now, if I go ahead and turn the feathers back on, you can see how these feathers will potentially, where are they at? Feather, 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 and feather. How these feathers will articulate inside that space that we've created for them. And again, I don't know what happened with my other one. This actually looks really clean. I'm going to deselect the body. All right. Again, this is all for test purposes. I'm not going to be keeping this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move the body up here. And one thing that I would do, and again, we didn't do the other side, but we don't have to, it's no big deal. We're not keeping this. I'm going to remesh this to about 530 or so. That'll automatically clean these edges up here. And then if I want, which I typically do because I'm kind of a perfectionist, go in here and manually clean these up. I don't want to make these too thin, okay? Because this was one of the things that I wanted to fix was how thin this geometry was here when it prints. So again, we just come through here and clean all this up wherever I feel like it's necessary to create a good looking model. Make my brush a little smaller so it doesn't overreach. Clean up the edges there. Okay, and then so once all this is done, and if we had duplicated our feathers to the across the z-axis to the other side, then we would be ready to move on to the next part with the feathers. I'm going to unsolo so you can actually see these feathers in X-ray format. And if I select one of these feathers, you'll see everything other than that feather in X-ray format. And you can see here we've got good clearance. Now the only thing that I didn't do here, and I should have, was I didn't rotate this feather. So right now it'll only lean back that far, and it'll go. You know, I wanted it to be able to lean forward or backward just a little bit, and that might have been where the issue took place with the. Let's go back in time real quick. I'm going to undo just before the Boolean. Okay. All right. So. Whoop. Boom. Alright, so there's our feather. Let's do this. I wonder, I don't think these will respect rotation. I don't think that's something. I'm going to solo. Let's go with is it the top feather? No, it's not. Where's my top feather? There it is. There it is. That's the one I want. I think the only thing that instancing won't allow you to duplicate across the instancing is rotation or position. I could be wrong. Let's see if I'm wrong. Oh my God, there it is. Come on, each down here. Thank you. All right. And if you're worried about trying to get your gizmo, if you go to change the pivot point, get it in the center, right in the center of like a circle, just zoom in or out. Whoa, what was that? Somebody sent a gift. Thank you. I don't know I don't know who did that, but thank you. Oh, you sent me 20 roses. Wow, I feel special. Thank you. Zoom in or out until the edge of that gizmo is just about the size of your circle, and then just go ahead and put it in the center like that. And now, as you can see, it's perfectly in the center. Turn your pivot point adjustment off. Let's check it from the front, make sure it's in the center, and it's not, so we'll turn it back on, move to the center. Again, not a huge deal, but again, I think I'm very clear about the fact that I'm a perfectionist. And then we're going to rotate it. Yeah, see, I'd have to do this when it was still part of a curved repeater. In fact, we probably don't have to go back too far to make that happen. Let's go back another step or two. We'll leave this open. There we go. All right, so now, again, working with the Boolean, that's the only one that we're going to worry about right now, and I'm going to reveal it. So, again, we'll reset that pivot point. Lock our view so it doesn't keep switching on us. Zoom in, get that pivot point right in the center, or as at least as close as you can get it. And then we'll lock it in place. You're welcome. I love that you model in Nomad. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm actually 30 plus years experience modeling in 3D using Lightwave, Maya, Blender not so much, Cinema 4D, Ray Dream, Infinity, going all the way back to the early 90s, and a little bit of ZBrush. But man, I'll tell you what, I love Nomad. How quick you can get around and do things, and it's very intuitive. And I don't work for Nomad or ZBrush either one, but ZBrush could probably take a lesson or two from what Nomad's doing here. And hopefully they will, if they want to stay competitive. My 9-year-old is trying to learn Nomad. Well, GFam, here's what you do. I've got a YouTube, and I know how kids today love Twitch. We're actually streaming right now on Twitch and YouTube as well. If you look up Laughing Dragon Foundries, you should be able to find us without too much trouble. I also have a link in my bio. You can get to our other channels through the link in our bio. And I've been told that actually the experience is probably a little bit better. You don't see my hands, but the screen's clearer, and etc., etc. Appreciate you. But yeah, and we have a Discord too. If they want to get on our Discord, we've got a community of people on there that are really, really nice, really helpful, very conversational. Would love to, and if your 9-year-old is having any specific issues or has any questions, don't hesitate to have them reach out to me, and I can, obviously in addition to what we're doing here, we do everything we can to help people create, get their head around this. And yeah, anybody that wants to join can. Absolutely, it is wide open. It's free. We do have a paid section for people. It's an exclusive area for people that are members of our tribe through My Mini Factory. A lot of people use Patreon. I use Tribe. You can get to us through Patreon, and we do have a Patreon, but we do have an area there that's reserved for Tribe, because it's where people, get advice on business. And not that I won't give advice elsewhere, but it's just an added perk for Tribers. But the rest of the server is free, and in fact, I just realized that I'm not streaming on Discord. Hold on. Hold on, let me fix that. Sorry, give me a second. I gotta start my virtual camera, and now I gotta go to Discord, and I gotta join voice, and then I can stream my camera, right? Hold on, there we go. Share your screen, device, OBS, virtual camera. There we go. Okay, now you can see me on Discord too. Yeah, the cool thing about YouTube and Twitch is that they save the live stream recordings. So that's a good thing. So if you want to go back and watch it later, you can. Anyway, a lot of options, but I show up at least once or twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, depends on the week. This week, I'm gonna try. I just got back from Colorado, so it's been a little crazy. And I'm trying to release my Harvest collection, which is going to have 10 new models of Harvest, and then 3 of my regular Wigglebud animals will be releasing this month. So he's able to make a stick-like figure and random blob person. Well, here's the good news. That's where you start. That's where it starts. You know what? I believe everyone can model. You know, the degree of complexity and all of that varies from individual to individual. But anybody can use this software. Now the results will vary, but it's all just how much time you spend in it and how much you're willing to admit that you don't know everything and learn from other people, self-included. So this is an example of one of our Wigglebuds. This is in our Halloween collection, which is currently live. And that's of course is our ghost version, our Halloween version of this guy. Which this guy's kind of the guy that started it all. I mean, my wife's a lover of penguins, and there were a bunch of penguins out there, and I'm just like, you know, I think I can make one that looks better. And you know what? It's just my personal opinion. I was right. There's those guys, and then this is our Halloween version of our panda, which has got of course, his jack-o'-lantern costume on. And they all come, our models come with 2 versions, one with and without the keychain loop. So if you want to put it on a keychain, you can. And this was by special request. We did a koala. This was a couple months ago. We did this guy. So yeah. And they were all made with Nomad. And I'll actually, I don't know if you've been here before. Give me a second here, and I'll pull up our whole current line that I've made over the last 5 months since I decided to go this route. Just personal information here on a semi-personal level. I'm actually a stage 4 cancer survivor, and before that, for 3 years, I was one of the top-selling shops on Etsy for 3D prints. But running a 40-plus printer print farm really takes its toll on your health. And my doctor told me, she said, if you want to live even another 5 years, you need to reduce your stress. You can't be running a print shop 24/7 like I was. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure something else out. So I sold off about 35 of my printers. I kept 4 or 5 of them, obviously for prototyping purposes. And now this is what I do. I create flexies for everyone else. Anyway, real quick, I just want to demonstrate again what I do with this feather. So again, I want that little break that I made back here to be exactly that. So then what I do was I took this feather and I rotated it into place, like so. I've got snap set to 2 degrees, and we're just going to give it a little bit of rotation like that. That's as far as I wanted it to go. Now this break that I put on the end of the feather, when the feather leans back, it'll go until it hits the notch in the cavity that this creates, and then it'll stop. Oh, I have excellent insurance. In fact, I did the math. I had a very rare case of lymphoma, and again, like I said, I'm a typical guy. I don't go to the hospital until either I'm bleeding out or things are falling off of my body, kind of like my dad. And I waited a little too long. Got to stage 4, and I thought I was done. I believe God provides, and I got literally the world's foremost leading expert on lymphoma on my case. She took me on, Dr. Smith, and long story short, I did the math once. Normal chemo is anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, depending on what kind of cancer you have, and it's every 3 weeks. My chemo, they check me in every 3 weeks for 5 days straight. My chemo regimen was 96 hours straight. That's what it took to keep me here. And hospital stays are not cheap. Like I said, over a 6-month period, I did the math, and insurance companies probably spent close to $2 million keeping me alive. So I definitely got my money's worth. But glad to be here. Like I said, I thought God was calling me home, but obviously He's not ready to bring me home yet. So I'm still here with you guys. You know what? I'm glad to I'm glad to be here. as a believer in Christ, I know that my future is secure, and where I'll spend eternity. But at the same time, who wants to pass away, right? Nobody wants to experience that. And plus, I got people here, and now you guys. So I want to be here for you guys. You know what? Thank you. I'm not the fighter. You know who the fighter is my wife. She's had breast cancer twice now, and she survived it, and she was very instrumental in getting me through my experience. I got to be honest. The last two cycles of chemo, I was sobbing in our bedroom, and I told her, I said, I can't do this again. I just can't. I'd already gone through four cycles, and I'd lost 60 pounds. And sorry, I'm getting a little emotional here. She heard me out. She didn't judge. She didn't jump on me, and she just said, she goes, if you stop your treatment now, she said, they won't treat you for this again. And you know what the outcome is. In fact, I did research on it after the fact. I was too afraid to do research while I was going through it, and thank God I didn't do it. But the type of cancer I had, and the stage that it was at, the tumor doubles in size every 24 hours. So I was days, if not weeks, definitely, from no longer being here. And I won't go into the details, but there were some things happening to the left side of my body too that were just I can't. Yeah, like I said, I won't get into the details because it's not a good picture. But here we are, and let's move forward responsibly. And again, very grateful. But my wife is the superhero, and she went through it the first time back in 2008. And then I went through it, and I had an even better understanding of what she went through. And then she literally 2 or 3 months after I got out of treatment, she was diagnosed with breast cancer again. We're just like, are you kidding me? But it definitely made me more empathetic and understanding what she was going through because, again, I'd gone through it myself. Okay, so amazing story. Thank you. Yes, praise God. And I don't know, maybe someday they'll make a movie about me, like, I don't know, call it Forrest Gump 2 or something like that. All right. Actually, people have recently been calling me the Bob Ross of 3D modeling. And I'm going to lean into that. I'm not going to wear the afro because I really don't have the hair for it. Anybody that's seen me without a hat knows that there's no way I could grow an afro. But I do like his style. And I actually have a little bit of a personal connection to Bob Ross, which we won't go into detail now. So, all right, so we've laid this feather back a little bit. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back and show the rest of our model. Again, it's in X-ray format, so you can see through everything. There's the body. Here's the feathers. This is the Boolean feather. Now, this is the original feather in the print position. Okay. This is where it will lay flat on the print bed. If we turn it this way. Whoop. All right. But these ones here are the ones that I rotated back, and because that's the main reason everybody says that my voice is calming and soothing and blah, blah, blah. So I'm actually in the process, I'm working with my son, who is a very good game streamer for Destiny, and there's another game he plays too that I can't play because I'm not on a PC. And he likes to tell me all the time, but he's very good at streaming. I actually have a background in media for the past 30 plus years, but Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, getting it all organized and streaming at the same time. I want to get a decent mic, get a stream deck so I can do some scene switching, especially for those on YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, I played it too, and I played with his crew once, and after about 15 minutes, they kicked me. I'm not good. I'm not bad at Fortnite. I've been playing Fortnite for about 1.5 years now. I've gotten pretty good at that, but I'll never be allowed back in the same room with him and his crew for Destiny. No disrespect, but it's like, yeah, Dad, you're better at a lot of other things, but this is kind of our thing. I'm like, yep, you're right. I suck. I get it. Oh yeah, I'm Dragon Master 5634 on Fortnite. If anybody wants to add me as a friend and hook up with me I usually play Friday nights and Saturday nights. So, yeah, you know what? Oh, so you can't stream on Facebook anymore? Really? Yeah, that's Zuckerberg for you. I have nothing against the guy, but you can tell he's in it for the money. All right. Anyway, let's get back to sculpting here because what time is it? Oh shoot. Yeah, my time is virtually up here. So again, I lean the feather back, and now we're going to go ahead and do that Boolean operation that we did before. I have to validate all of this. I would actually split this into 2 sets so I can keep the feathers and everything, the feathers and the Booleans on their own separate curve. But right now, we're just going to keep it the way it is because we're squeezed for time. All right, so I want the Booleans, the feather Booleans only. So I'm going to select all of these. All right, we got them all? We've got them all. Yeah, okay. And then we'll hide them. So I'm going to hide them. And I just typed the H key. That's a quick way to hide. One of the things that I'll recommend too is learn macros as much as you can because it's really going to speed up your workflow. I'm going to add you right now. Cool. Can still do lives, but demonetize. Oh yeah, no, I don't have enough followers to monetize anything yet. In fact, with all the resources it consumes for them, it's probably costing them money to have me live, at least at this point. All right, now we're going to show the body. The Boolean feathers are still hidden. We go back to our Boolean operation, and just like before, boom, we cut out those gaps. Now the difference is that break that I built into the geometry now will allow these feathers to rotate. If we set up our rotation solo real quick, and I'm going to show you one thing that I didn't do because I don't have the time right now, but when we remodel this guy tomorrow and the day, tomorrow and Friday, I'll show you. We'll do it then, but I'll show you what we didn't do now, which is going to make a difference in how this thing performs. All right, so there's our feather, and then now when we rotate this, oh shoot, dang it, they're not. All right, they're all not instances again. You see this little bit here? When we rotated the Boolean in, it only cut up. It only cut up to here. It left some geometry over this. So what I do to get around that is on the Boolean feathers, I attach a block here that sticks out a little bit further. That's straight in line with the edges and the end of this geometry here, or we can just pull some of the geometry out on the Boolean, so then when you angle it back, it doesn't dig in like it did here. You see that? If I go back and forth, you can see here it should be cut all the way down here, but it did not because I didn't put that piece in. I knew what I was missing when I didn't do that, but again, like I said, well, I only have so much time, and actually my time is up anyway. Googly googly. Good googly moogly. Hey, I saw that you followed me on my Mini Factory too. My Fortnite name is Dragon Master 5634 or Dragon Master. You know what? I know that's what's on screen. That's my screen name. I don't know what my username is. So do me a favor, we'll get this figured out. If you want to send me a DM, either here, TikTok, or wherever, just remind me who you are and that we talk about Fortnite. And then if you can't find me, well, I'll figure out how to get you to find me, or I'll find you, or whatever. And then we'll hook up that way. All right. So, like I said before, this is a little bit of what we're going to be doing tomorrow. And I'll be moving quickly because I have done this before, and again, as I said before, I'm kind of on a time constraint to get this guy finished, test printed, and launched by the end of the week. At the very latest, the end of the weekend. I think I found you. Just sent a request. All right. I don't know if I'll be on tonight because my wife is getting home from a business trip tonight, and I gotta be the doting husband and be available. But she usually lets me play Friday and Saturday night. I usually get by with it. So, anyway, yeah. So here we are again. This is again some of the stuff that we're going to be doing tomorrow and on Friday to finish this guy up. And good googly, you didn't see it. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here without saving. This is the turkey that I did while I was in Colorado, and it, my own opinion here, I think it's gorgeous. The problem is it had some print issues, which I know what we have to do to fix them, but it's just going to require us to redo the model. Hold on, TikTok wants to check that I'm still here. So we have to remodel this guy, which is good for all of you guys because you missed out on this when I did it without streaming last week. But my wife sometimes lets me. I think, at first she was a little bit like, are you going to do this on Friday and Saturday night? But in my defense, I am semi-retired and I don't get out of the house and get to socialize much. So this and Fortnite are my only two opportunities. So I think she kind of feels bad that I, don't have the same opportunity she does. Although she's like, I wish I didn't have to go to work. And I'm like, yeah. Wait until you get there. You'll be like, gosh, I kind of miss being around people. So anyway, we need to redo this. I've used a lot of new techniques, and we're starting to create our wiggle buds. That's the brand that I've created and named these. We've started creating them a full 360-degree model now, and not just the ones that lay on their backs. Although there is still a place for these, and we will still be continuing this format. But I'm also getting into doing more of the the stand-up stuff. So I like that to make it into a pen holder. You know what, Vic? That is brilliant. I like that, and I know exactly how we would do that. Like a pen cup. I'm gonna make. You know what? Before we slice this bad boy, because I was trying to think what could we do to do something additional with this. Like, for example, someone came on here when I was doing my witch's goblin, and that's upstairs. I don't have it down here with me right now. Well, I can show you the model. Duh. Hold on. Oh, hold on. That's my son. 1 second. Hello. You're streaming on Live Talk with me right now, so say hi to everybody. I'm kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding. I am on TikTok. Let me. I'm wrapping up this stream probably in about like 5-10 minutes at max. Let me call you back. All right. Love you. Bye. Okay. My son says hello. All right. Yeah, I'm showing you the cauldron. Where is the cauldron? I'm sorry, sir. We have deleted your cauldron. You what? All right. So here's the cauldron. And this started out as I just wanted to do a cauldron for Halloween. So I did the cauldron. I did the top, the bubbling potion. I thought, it'd be cool as if I could take this off as a lid. And so that's what I did. I modeled this with a separate lid. And then I thought, well, how am I going to grab that? Use your thumbnail and pry it out or whatever. It's not a real tight fit, so it's not like it would be hard. And I thought, well, maybe I'll make the bubbles or put some, finger indentations in it or something. So I was online looking at pictures of cauldrons, and I saw somebody had made a paper mache one of like a witch had fallen into her own cauldron. And I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious. And I have never seen anything like that in the 3D world. So now, and if you check my videos on my profile, I did a video on it where I take the lid off and show you stuff inside. And so then that led to my Dracula coffin, which is also a model or a video of that on my profile. And then, so the same thing with the Harvest collection. It's almost finished, if I can remember which. There it is. This is going to be the same concept. No witch's legs, of course. If I turn on an X-ray, you'll be able to see through it. So we've got a, let's hide that backdrop because it's just very distracting. So it's going to have a lid with the whipped cream on top, and then there is the crust, and then the container will be joined to the crust when it prints. It'll print as a multi-part piece. There she is, Chaos. Thanks for stopping by. One of my longtime supporters. So that's the lid. I still have to do the indent to keep the lid aligned when you put it on. But again, the crust and that part will be a separate print, and then the lid. And there you go. So I was thinking the same thing with the turkey. I'm like, gosh, what could I do with this turkey? I mean, obviously we want the, we want the articulated version. Chaos, if you got time, you should stop by tomorrow. We're going to be redoing this guy from scratch. Well, not scratch. I've got a starting place. But there were some issues with the articulation and printing, all my fault. And we're going to be fixing that on this guy tomorrow. And it's going to be tomorrow and Friday. It's going to be a speed session. I'm going to talk a little bit, but I'm going to be just slamming through this to get it done because I want to launch this into... yes, I know, and you were excited to see what it went to. Well, this is what it went to. But I'm going to be doing everything I can to get this guy ready for the Harvest Collection release, either late this week or sometime during the weekend. Yeah, did some test prints, and he's got some issues, but we've definitely figured out what the source of the issues are, and all it requires is just completely remodeling them. So yeah. But on that note, I am going to have to call it quits for today, just because I've got, like I said, I'm running around here like a chicken with my head cut off because my wife's coming home from her business trip. Oh, Chaos, I don't know if you saw this or not. This is our functional print of our scarecrow that we did a week and a half ago, I think it was. And I'm in the process of ordering the colored filament right now so we can print this guy in color, but I am super, super pleased with how he came out. So, and he stands up. Look at that. All right. Except he's had a little too much pumpkin juice, so I think he's... There we go. Okay, so tomorrow's live and Friday's live will most likely be early afternoon. I've got some errands I've got to run tomorrow. I don't know what time I'll be on tomorrow for sure, but it'll either be early or mid-afternoon tomorrow. I'll set up a live event, just as a reminder, and I'll probably lean toward going later, and then Friday, I've got a friend that's visiting me both days. He's Terrell. If you haven't met him, he helps me around the shop here and various things. And then if he's usually out here by 1:30. But then tomorrow I've got to go to the AT&T store because I'm getting a new phone. And then Friday, so I'll be straight. Basically, what I'm saying is tomorrow being Thursday, I'm not sure what time I'll be here, but I'll be here sometime tomorrow afternoon. And then Friday, when he leaves, like I said, around 1:30 or so, I'll be on right after that. Short of there being some sort of emergency that I don't know anything about. And by the way, I said earlier about this guy being kind of a charcoal color. I'm actually going to change that and make him more of a dark brown, which is kind of more turkey-ish if you ask me. Oh shoot. Yeah, we'll fix that tomorrow too. Alright, in the meantime, everybody have a great rest of your afternoon. Look for the event, the live event. Quick question: you model a full model before adding the articulation, and that is absolutely correct. Yes, and I start with mostly primitives. So circle or spheres, cubes, boxes, tubes, and occasionally a lathed object, and then I use the remesh tool to put everything together. To glue it all, and we use a lot of repeaters, curved, radial. Haven't used array too much, but I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. So anyway, sometime tomorrow afternoon. No guarantees when. Just keep looking for us. And of course, if you don't follow and subscribe, you're not going to know who we are, or where we are, when we are. And then Friday for sure, probably right around the 1:30, maybe 2 p.m. time frame. What program do you use to crest your designs? Thanks, Chaos. Yes, stop by tomorrow and Friday. And I'll be looking. I haven't seen you live streaming much lately. I don't know if that's just because I haven't been on for a while. What program do you use to crest? Did you mean crest or create? Okay, that's what I thought you meant. Just wanted to be sure. I wanted to confirm. This is Nomad Sculpt. running on an iPad Pro. You can run it on Android, and the team is currently working on a beta for desktop for Mac and PC as well. Okay, I got that from one of your videos. I didn't know if you weren't doing any live streams either. So, nope, I get it. You gotta take care of your. You gotta put your own oxygen mask on before you help everyone else. That's why they do it like that on the planes. Because if you pass out, you're no good to anybody else. Yeah, I work largely. I have and can use Fusion 360. Just to list off the programs I have experience using: Fusion 360, going all the way back to the early 90s, Ray Dream, Infinity, Cinema 4D, Lightwave by NewTek, a little bit of Maya, a little bit of Blender, and ZBrush. So, all right. Well, I hope this is helpful and entertaining. And again, give us a follow, subscribe. If you have a 3D shop that you print and sell this stuff, we would appreciate your support on Tribes, because we have a growing library of models. Right now, our starter pack is up to 29 models. After this month's release, it'll be close to 40. We'll have a our starter pack will be up to 40 models. This is not all in the starter pack. It will eventually be, but most of these models right now are. And we actually, on my mini factory, have 3 free models currently from the How to Train Your Dragon movie. We've got Toothless. I can never remember the star. I can't remember her name. And then Gronk or Gronkle. I don't know. We call them different names, just not to get in any kind of legal trouble. We don't sell the models. They're free. You can print them, download them, print them, do what you want with them. I wouldn't sell them if I were you, because you don't want to get in trouble with Disney. Yes, I hope you can join us. Like I said, I plan to be here Thursday and Friday, and there you have it. So everybody have a great rest of your day, as I said earlier, and look for us tomorrow and Friday. All right, take care.